What is happening, everybody? MG here, MGCovers. Super excited to bring you a brand new sports handicapping video. Title of this video is How to Win Your Bracket and Profit from Statistical Properties for the NCAA Basketball Tournament. Super fascinating video. You're going to learn a ton. This is going to help you win your bracket, also help you profit from the NCAA tournament this year. Before we dive into that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, greatly appreciate you subscribing to the channel. If this video brings you value at the end of it, would appreciate giving it a like. That helps the channel grow, as you know. If you want to follow me on social media, MGCovers, cover spelled with the Z. Put out a ton of content on Instagram as well as Twitter, so you get a ton of value simply by following me on social media platforms. Okay, we're going to talk about statistical properties. If you're brand new to the channel, I want to define what statistical properties are. In a nutshell, statistical properties are basically facts about a sport. And let's give you an example. In NHL, hockey, the favorite wins 60% of the time. The underdog wins 40% of the time. In NFL, the underdog covers more than the favorite. So what you want to do, in the way that I teach, you want to align your wagers, make sure they go parallel with the statistical properties. So what I'm going to pull data from, we're going to look at the last 5 years for the NCAA tournament. And a lot of this, when I go through this, I'm going to talk about if you're just interested in filling out a bracket, or if you're looking to wager on some of these games. I'm going to give you some angles to look at and how to use these statistical properties to your advantage. So we're looking at from the 22 tournament all the way back to 2018, which is about 15 or 16 games for each, one for each seed bracket, meaning 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15. Okay, so the very first one, 1 versus 16, no surprise, the 1 seed wins 94% of the time. That only victory, as you know, was back when UMBC beat Virginia back in 2018. Now, what's interesting to note, this figure right here, ATS, the 1 seed, is only covering 44%. This is huge. This is a great statistical property. And if you follow me for any length of time, we already know why this is. It's because they're the number 1 seed. The public perceives this team to be astronomically better. The sports books will overvalue that side. So then, in essence, where is the value? The value is on the opposite side. Now, we know the other 2 number 1 seeds. We don't know who they're playing yet, so they don't have a line. But let's take a look. Northern Kentucky and Houston. You got the public all over Houston there. It opened at 19, pretty much hovering around 19, 19 and a half. Howard and Kansas, interesting matchup. You've got Kansas opened at 21 and a half. It's actually moved in favor of Howard. And when you, I'm going to call out these lines for the 1 and 16 in the last 5 years. They're all double digits. Minus 22 and a half, minus 21 and a half, minus 20 and a half, minus 21 and a half, minus 33, minus 25 and a half, and so on and so on. All of them are, in the 20 range. There's one way back, minus 14 back in 2018. But the point is, when you're looking in a tournament game, you're going to get the absolute best out of Howard. And it's the same down here. This is the NCAA tournament, and that's why this is so difficult to handicap, because you're getting the absolute best out of these teams. There's no pressure on Northern Kentucky. There's no pressure on Howard, so they can play loose. There is a ton of pressure and ton of expectations on these number 1 seeds. So from a statistical property perspective, if you were going to force me to make a play, the 16 seed to cover would be a very good play. And if you're filling out a bracket, you got to advance all the 1 seeds. If you're just playing, if you're just using that statistical property to your advantage. And pretty much the same here with the 2 and the 15. Although it levels out with ATS, which means you have no real advantage for the lower seed, the 15. And of course, the 2 seed still winning, 88% of the time. So no real big advantage there on either side. Now, get to and cover something very interesting with the 3 seed here. And this really surprised me. The 3 seed is covering 64% ATS. They're winning outright just as much as the 1 and 2 seed at 94%, but completely different ATS covering than the 1 and 2 seeds. And it's probably because Sports books are going to overvalue that 1 and 2 seed, maybe not value the 3 seed as much. So that's a good solid play there to look at the 3 seed. So let's do that. Let's take a look at the 3 seeds here on Thursday. And we'll notice we have, oh, that's right, 2 seeds. Okay, I got to go to Friday. My bad. Okay, there we go. Xavier, Kennesaw State. That's 11. That line's already bumped a half point in favor of Xavier. Some books, Bovada's got it at 12. This is offshore, what I'm looking at here. And same deal with UC Santa Barbara and Baylor. Yeah, it's already moved in Baylor's favor there. So if you're looking at statistical properties, Xavier, Baylor would be wagers that would align with the statistical properties. But still, if you're making brackets, you got to put the 1, 2, and 3 seed through. All right, let's move on to the 4. Okay, interesting here as well, right? 4 seeds winning 69% of the time, but look how they're only covering 25% of the time. So now we're starting to see a huge advantage in the underdog here taking the points. So the 13 seed is covering 70. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 75% of the time. Isn't that crazy? Like, it'd be hard to guess that. So if you're looking for probably the strongest play in this whole statistical properties would be the 13 seed. And you're looking at some of the teams, and I'm looking at the lines from last year. I'll just call these out: minus 13.5, minus 3, minus 4.5, minus 7.5, minus 6.5, minus 7.5. And more times than not, it's that 4th seed that's favored. So getting a lot of value there with the, playing that 13 seed and taking the points. That's a huge statistical property in your favor. So let's go dive in and look at those 13 seeds. Tennessee, Louisiana, Lafayette getting 10.5 points. Let's see here. Furman and Virginia. And look at that. That's a really tight line there. Furman only getting 5.5 points there, but they can definitely put up some points there. So that'd be a good battle there. Good defense against a good offense. Okay, so moving along, let's dive into the 5 and 12. Now, if you Google, how to handicap tournaments, how to fill out brackets, you'll see a lot of people make reference to this 5 and 12. And I didn't research beyond the past 5 years, but this is where you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, you need to put some in your bracket. You need to put in upsets for the 12 seed. But statistically speaking, that just doesn't happen. The 5 seed wins a majority of the time. 63%, no advantage on the ATS. They're split pretty much even, 50-50. Now is when we're going to see the underdog come into play. Okay, so the 6 and 11 seed, and this is an important point here because we're going to talk about money line dogs. 6 and 11 seed, the 6 seed is only winning outright 50% of the time. So if you like a dog, at the 11 seed, play that on the money line, you've got a 50% chance of that team winning outright on the money line. And in fact, they're also covering, 62% of the time. So, even though you hear a lot about the 5 and 12 seed, that 11 seed wins 50% of the time and covers 62% of the time. So that's a huge edge. Let's take a look at the 11 seed and see what we've got here. NC State, Creighton, yeah, classic example there, +5. Providence, Kentucky, that line's bumped up to 5, but no movement here on this one. So definitely a strong angle to look at, taking those teams on the money line, meaning like, you could play both of these on the money line. If one of them wins, you would win, it would be profitable. NC State, let's see what kind of money line. That's probably going to be somewhere around, what did I do here? Let's see what the odds are on the money line. We'll just check this briefly. Probably 175. Yeah, okay. 175, 185. And that's probably the same for that other one, that other game as well. Okay, so let's go back to our statistical properties here. And again, bracket-wise, so just to sort of recap, your 1, 2, and 3 seeds, you pretty much want to put those through. Where you really want to start mixing in some of these underdogs to advance would come down here around this, 6, 7 seed, and we'll dive right into the 7 now. Yeah, so 7 seed's going to win 53% of the time. 10 seed's going to win outright 47% of the time, or that's what their statistical properties. But interesting, we have a huge bump here. That 7 seed is winning ATS 53% of the time, so no real advantage there. And then finally, I thought this was fascinating with the 8 and 9 seeds to round this out, because you would think these would be 50-50, but ironically they're not. The 8 seed is only winning outright 32% of the time. So that 9 seed is winning 68% of the time, and also covering a large majority of the time as well. So let's take a look at the 9 seeds, see what we have here. West Virginia, yeah, West Virginia is a favorite there. Illinois is an underdog. Auburn's a small favorite. Okay, so let's recap. So if you're looking at brackets, again, you want to take the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. You want to pretty much put those through. You could maybe pick, 1 4 seed, 1 5 seed, and then when you get to the 6th and the 7th, you're better just splitting those 50-50. If you're using the statistical properties, you would want to put maybe 3 of the 9 seeds through and maybe 1 of the 8 seeds. Now, if you're looking at handicapping wise, again, strong plays, you're going to look at that 16 seed to cover ATS, and then also this 3 seed to cover, you're getting 64%. And then when you look at the 13th seed, strong statistical property for the 13 seed to cover, that's huge. That's the highest one, right? 75% of the time, 13 seeds covered in the last 5 years. And then when you're looking at for some upsets, I mean, of course, we're going to probably have some upsets here, right? 4 and 5, but realistically, probably using the statistical property to your advantage around that, 11 and 10 seed to win outright would be really good wagers in addition to the 9. Okay. Hey, good luck with the tournament this year. If you want access to all of my blinds for all sports, including the NCAA tournament, which will help you even more, you can get access $50 a month. There's a link to join the description box. You also get access to all my coaching videos. There's about 150 coaching videos on the site. We have Major League Baseball around the corner. My power rankings for Major League Baseball will premiere April the 10th. Teams should have played about 10 games. If you want access to all of my plays, $100 a month. And the best value, it's basically like getting an associate's degree in sports betting, $4.99 for the entire year. You get access to everything. If you paid that outright, it'd be about $1,200. So you're saving about $600 joining for the entire year. Link to join in the description box. Good luck. Follow me on social media. Might throw out some plays, and talk to you guys soon. Peace.